Welcome to the Canary Islands, a beautiful Spanish archipelago located in the Atlantic Ocean about 100 kilometers or 60 miles off the coast of Morocco and nearby Western Sahara in northwest Africa. Known for its volcanic origins, these islands boast dramatic landscapes, from the towering Mount Teide on Tenerife, Spain's highest peak, to the wide open desert plains of Tindaya on Fuerteventura. The archipelago consists of 7 main islands: El Hierro, La Palma, La Gomera, Tenerife, Gran Canaria, Fuerteventura and Lanzarote. Each island offers its own unique charm, from lush forests and golden beaches to vibrant cultural festivals. Often referred to as the Islands of Eternal Spring, the Canary Islands enjoy a subtropical climate, making them a year-round destination for travelers seeking sun, adventure or relaxation. Their rich history and strategic location make them a cultural crossroads between Europe, Africa and the Americas. But we're here to see the birds. These small islands hold an impressive total of about 400 species. The Canary Islands are a birders' paradise, offering a unique blend of endemic species, African influences and migratory birds. These isolated islands are home to 7 endemic species found nowhere else on the planet, like the Canary Islands chaffinch and the 2 blue chaffinches, the Tenerife and Gran Canaria birds, with this bird pictured here being the Tenerife species, the Canary Islands chiff-chaff, the Canary Islands stone chat or Fuerteventura chat, and finally its 2 pigeons, the bulls and the laurel pigeon. Along with these, there are a myriad of amazing subspecies, like their great spotted woodpecker, their robin, and the African blue tit, to name but a few. Of the 7 main islands, we only had time to visit 2 of them, Fuerteventura and Tenerife. So come along with us as we try and see as many of the island's amazing birds as we can cram into the short amount of time we had available birding on the Canary Islands. The first island we visited was Fuerteventura, an island I've wanted to visit since seeing displaying Barbary bustards on nature documentaries in my childhood. It's the second largest of the Canary Islands, and from a geographical point of view is also the oldest. The island has a hot desert climate, with temperatures averaging 28 degrees during the summer months. The areas we will be visiting here I've marked in yellow for you. After landing on Fuerteventura and collecting our car, we were soon on our way to our first stop, a short distance away immediately west of the airport. And as any experienced birder will tell you, some of the best birding sites can be found around waste disposal sites, so this was as good a starting point as any other. Just got 2 Bertholot's pipits down here, one here and one in the shrub just by the car here. As they're tracking down the side here, we've just been driving along and sort of tailing them. Got some ravens at the top of this hill here. We're just quite near the airport. We've only just arrived and we're just driving near the dump, and we've come in on this road off the main road, and all we've been seeing is Bertholot's pipits, a few yellow-legged gulls and a couple of ravens that have been flying over the top of that. Looks like the dump there, and there's been loads of gulls there, and there's gulls flying over all the time. Ravens up there. From the waste disposal site, we drove further westwards, again onto an interesting area with a deep gorge called Barranco de Rio Cabras, a barranco being a deep, narrow valley. These barrancos often hold water and greener vegetation than the surrounding areas, so draw in birds from the area and make for good birding. Just had a pair of laughing dove over there, it flew off. Probably too small for you now, but we just had 3 Egyptian vultures over. I'll pop a picture or 2 up now just to show you. Heading towards where we were on the other side where the Berthelot puppets were. They're just up through the clouds at the moment. Just come down into this little ravine here, and there's a bunch of laughing doves in these cliffs here. One on the edge there. And a few have flown out of this little area here. I think they're drinking water here. There's still water here, and even though it's dry all over the place. Another 2 pairs of laughing dove. Wind's blowing a bit, so I'm just shading the mic with my hand. I'm just going to walk down here for a little bit, see what we can find. Raven over, and a bunch of feral pigeons and some gulls in the background there. Another laughing dove. We've just followed this little gully all the way down to a bend, and we've had chiff-chaff in here, ruddy shelduck fly over, laughing doves on the cliff edges here, collared dove, and Spanish sparrow. We also then found this typically flimsy nest of a laughing dove. Not staying long, we started our return walk to the car, finding a common buzzard in the process. A common resident breeder on all the Canary Islands except Lanzarote, and by far the commonest large soaring bird on the Canaries. But having said this, we only saw 3 or 4 the entire trip, far outnumbered by Egyptian vultures. Okay, just walking back to the car in this channel here, we just had a peregrine falcon blitz through, up and out again. Probably hunting the pigeons and doves in this little area here. Next, for a bit of fun and to stock up on supplies, we wanted to visit the Atlantico shopping centre and nearby fountains just south of the airport, the legendary roosting spot of the red-billed tropic bird, last seen roosting in the rocks surrounding the fountains here in early 2024. Sadly, the bird has moved on and no longer uses the site as of our visit in February 2025. It's amazing to think you could stand here in the early evenings and mornings and see the bird come and go from its roosting site just meters away, but I'm afraid all we could muster up today was a confiding common sandpiper working the edges of the fountain. Common sandpipers have a huge distribution across most of Europe and Asia and migrate to Africa, Southern Asia and Australia in the winter. The common sandpiper is usually encountered alone, but will occasionally form small groups, although larger flocks are sometimes formed around migration or at breeding seasonal roosts. It seldom joins multi-species flocks and has a distinctive stiff-winged flight low over the water. It has a distinctive white gap between the neck and the top of the wing, and often stands slightly crouched or leaning forward as it bobs its tail. After stocking up on supplies, we headed further south on the east coast, visiting Salinas del Carmen along the way. Here you can visit a small museum dedicated to the production of salt in the area and take a tour of the surrounding salt pans. It's almost impossible not to notice the whale skeleton on display here. Washed ashore on Majanico Beach in La Oliva, it's the skeleton of a 19.5 meter long fin whale. The Council of the Canaries decided to erect it just past the wall that separates the Salina to the beach. We had a lovely confiding pair of Berthelot's pipits here just outside the museum, and a swift species over which we just presumed was a plain swift. However, because we couldn't confirm it, we left it unidentified on our records. Moving south, we left the main road and drove a dirt road through the small town of Salina del Carmen to get to Barranco del Toro, where we parked up in the hopes of exploring the greener areas closer to the ocean and down the ravine itself. Here, from the car on the drive in, we spotted a redshank hunting in the rock pools left by low tide. After parking up at the entry to the barranco, we got out and were immediately met by a sizable colony of Spanish sparrows. The vegetation was noticeably greener here, with large palm trees and bushes covering the floor of the valley, again providing great habitat for smaller passerines. Spanish sparrows can be found throughout Micronesia, the Mediterranean and across Central Asia. For most of its range, it occurs alongside the house sparrow, breeding in farmland and open woodland. In areas where the house sparrow are absent, it may live in urban habitats, as in the Canary Islands, Madeira and some Mediterranean islands. Before it arrived in the Canary Islands and Madeira, the rock sparrow was the sole native sparrow. In the Canaries, it occurs in most habitats, having ousted the rock sparrow from all but the driest localities. It's strongly gregarious, flocking and breeding in groups. Nests are usually placed in trees or shrubs, amongst branches or underneath the nests of larger birds such as white storks. A couple of ravens in the back there. We're just scanning this riverbed here to see if we can find any spectacled warblers or Fuerteventura chats or anything like that. This is the very end of it, and it goes some ways down there. We can just scan this sort of scrub area here. We found several pairs of Berthelot's pipits here. Most were on the run feeding, so were too quick to film, so here's a few stills as a consolation.
What's that? Egyptian vulture.
Got an Egyptian vulture up here. Might be a bit too distant for you. It's such a wide angle lens. It's about finger's width above the horizon there, just to the right of that cloud. Collared dove again. I may head in there into the little bit thicker stuff and see what I can find. It's fairly quiet, just Spanish sparrows, collared doves, raven over, Egyptian vulture over. But it is very much different habitat to everywhere else where there are hardly any trees. So I'm sure there must be something in here we haven't seen yet. Actually, I can see it. No, heard it. There's something in here somewhere. Scratchy call. Sounded like it was in here somewhere. There we go, straight ahead. Jake's just had several Sardinian warblers down here I haven't got eyes on yet, so I'm just going to take a walk further down and see if we can pick it up for the trip list. Lots of sparrows calling in here. So we've just had a Barbary partridge fly across that gap there and continue on. So we're just going to climb up this little zigzag path here to the top and then see if we can relocate it. Some people are more keen than others though. Some are also a little bit more fit than others too. A little bit treacherous underfoot to going up. This literally could have gone down anywhere here. Flew across. This is a nice panel of Barranco della Torre and gives you some idea of how different these ravines look compared to the surrounding habitat. Jake is all the way over there on top. Something flying right over the top of him. It's got the shrike up there. Let's go up this way and then around. We'll have the sun to our back. The Canary Islands great grey shrike is an endemic subspecies and a common resident on Fuerteventura and Lanzarote, but scarce on Tenerife and Gran Canaria, and is absent in the Western Canaries. They like open bushy country and cultivated land and the edges of golf courses where they find more prey than usual. They prey on small rodents, reptiles and insects, often impaling them on spiky objects to consume later. Birds on the Canaries are smaller and darker grey than those on the mainland. Jake is still after his Barbary Partridge lifer. He's walking along the ridge top all the way up there. He's only ever had rubbish flight views once in Morocco. He saw it fly into this little depression here. We had it all the way on the other side there in that little V-shaped valley, and then saw it fly across from the other side and land in this little dip here, and now we're struggling to re-find it again. Jake's super keen to add this bird to his world list, but sadly we couldn't re-find the bird. We did, however, have lovely views of spectacle warblers in the same area. After leaving the Barranco, we headed towards the mountains. That's where we're staying for 2 nights. First stopping at the Guys and AU's viewpoint, affording spectacular views south over the mountain village of Betancuria and northwards over the whole of Fuerteventura. Betancuria is a beautiful historic mountain town in the province of La Palmas, with a population of about 1,000 people. It's nestled amongst the mountains located in the heart of Fuerteventura and holds historical significance as the island's former capital and offers a glimpse into its rich past. The village is known for its cobbled streets, whitewashed buildings and tranquil atmosphere, making it a delightful destination for visitors and birders alike. So this is the first morning in our Airbnb in Betancuria, little mountain village. We're going to spend the day birding in and around the town, and also further down south of the town in the next village, do a little bit of birding around there and the hills in the surrounding area of the town. We have a nice Airbnb up on the hill overlooking the town, As you can probably tell, all the sparrows are already waking up. Dawn chorus is happening. We're just going to have a bite to eat and let the sun come up a little bit more, and then spend the day just knocking around the town. So we drove in last night over there and stopped and had a nice view over the valley, both sides, and then drove down into Betancuria, where we're going to spend the day birding today. This is the view from our Airbnb over the little mountain town, lovely. And then later today we're going to go all the way down the valley there to the next sort of kind of mountainy village and do a bit of birding there as well. And then if we have time we'll head north and explore a bit in the north. We've got one more night here and then heading up to a little town near the Tindaya Plains where we'll spend 3 more nights pottering around up there for the bustards and sandgrass, etc. I'm just sitting on the Airbnb balcony and I've already got Sardinian warbler and grey shrike down in this little shrubland there. We haven't even left the apartment yet. When we pulled into the driveway last night, it was up in these sort of like flaxy things. The grey shrike was. We've heard blue tit, African blue tit, and of course tons of sparrows all over the place. So we'll just literally wander all around here today, taking our time. I can hear a collared dove as well. So all the birds are waking up and so are we. I've had my first coffee. Cheers. So that's our accommodation for tonight and tomorrow night. Casa Isabel, which is very nice. And it looks over the town of Betancuria, which is a lovely mountain village on the western side of the island of Fuerteventura. Kestrel's going over. That's our accommodation again from a different angle. Jake's already on a Sardinian. We've got ravens up there, we just had a kestrel over. And we're just birding around the scrubby area, and we've got a great grey shrike just sitting over there, and a few Sardinians, great spotted woodpecker calling, kestrel fly over. We've just come down into the town to this little green sort of garden oasis bit. And we've had African blue tit in these trees here. We're just going to try and re-find it now and get some shots. It's a little bit nippy, we've got our jackets on. And a small little breeze blowing, nothing serious. Sounds like there's a warbler in there as well. Collared doves. We had the kestrel sitting on the church tower earlier this morning. Just lovely to see and hear, just calling.
Sardinian warbler across there. Just on the floor in between the cactuses there. Female sardine. We haven't managed to relocate the African blue tit yet, but we hear it calling. That's our accommodation.
The Atlantic canary is a common widespread near-endemic to the Canary Islands, but is also found on Madeira and the Azores, occupying varied habitats from sea level right up into the mountains. The bird is named after the Canary Islands and is found on all the islands, but is scarce on the drier islands of Fuerteventura and Lanzarote. It looks similar to the European Seron, but has a relatively larger bill, shorter wings, and of course different song. It's a gregarious bird which often nests in groups, with each pair defending a small territory. The eggs are laid between January and July on the Canary Islands, and 2 to 3 broods are raised each year. It typically feeds in flocks foraging on the ground or amongst low vegetation. It mainly feeds on seeds such as those of weeds, grasses and figs. It also feeds on other plant material and small insects. By far the most birds we found on Fuerteventura were here in Betancuria, around the central market area of the town. Outside the town they were a lot scarcer and only found in pairs or single birds. Also found here in this little market area was a nest-building pair of Sardinian warblers. It's a resident endemic subspecies of the Canary Islands, favouring the drier eastern Canaries, and prefers dense, tall, scrubby habitat. Here the female found a rather large breadcrumb, which it was determined to get down the hatch, which after some time managed to do.
So this has been a little hot spot. We've got Sardinian warbler breeding in here, they're busy nest building, and we've got canaries singing from the tops of there, and then African blue tits all over the place, all along in underneath these trees and around, and also on the far side where the church is. Had a hoopoo down here which we flushed. I didn't even bother to look at it. I thought it was a collared dove, so I just ignored it. When I looked down, it was a hoopoo and flew off. Yeah, lovely little spot this. Just waiting for the sun to pop over. It's already reached there, and then when it hits the top of these trees we'll come back and try and get better shots of all the birds we've already seen this morning. Gorgeous little town. You just got a blue tit pair that keeps flying out of here into these palm trees, giving excellent views, but we both haven't got a shot of it yet, so we're just sticking around to see if we can get better pics. It's a local cat. Literally a Sardinian warbler just in here, point blank. Yeah. Chasing the fly on the floor there. No problem. Lovely. Beautiful. No one else is up yet, only the mad bird is. That's our accommodation on the far side. Just African blue tits all over the place. And Atlantic canaries, goldfinch, Sardinian warblers, Spanish sparrows, collared doves, Egyptian vulture flyover, ravens. Quite a productive morning. So the African blue tit there. Got an Egyptian vulture here. Lovely, like point blank. Lovely.
After having that single adult Egyptian vulture over, I immediately had another two fly in, one a lot darker than the other, which I imagine would be a younger adolescent bird.
Awesome. How awesome was that? Not a Barbary partridge, but Egyptians will do. There's actually three there. There's another one there.
Yeah.
Jake's off in stealth mode. So they were in here and we flushed them and they flew up over and they're going to be somewhere on the right here. So Jake's dipped this bird once before, I think in Morocco, so he's super keen to relocate. Tick it off his list. It'll be here somewhere. It'll be in there somewhere. Vulture over. Oh my word, look at those views. Point blank. Damn it, that's the problem with is there another one? Goals. That's the problem with filming, is you can miss all the good shots. Raven. Just over the coming over. Raven behind you, mate. Okay. So they're in here, the Barbary partridge. Somewhere. Jake's just got his Barbary partridge lifer properly ticked off this time. Just enough time for one shot. and then they flew. He had them over there, but now they've flown in here somewhere, so we're just going to scan around and see if we can relocate so I can get a pic. They flush pretty easily, so we're just going slowly. So we've come up to the slightly exposed location, chasing this partridge. Haven't been able to relocate just yet, but we're sneaking around like two birdie ninjas. So it was where that sort of whitish house was there, and then it flew into this field somewhere. Okay, so yet again we flushed the bird. It was way back there, miles away before we flushed it. It basically saw us and took off, and now it's flown back towards the White House. So slightly exposed up here. And there's another one going just over the White House. Over the White House now. And down. Right, we're still chasing Barbary Partridge. Was there and flew across to this side. Wind's starting to pick up a bit, unfortunately, and we've lost the sunlight. We're just going to go down that road there and see if we can pick them up again.
Barbary partridge breeds on all the Canary Islands except Gran Canaria, where some are occasionally released for sport shooting. We found our pair again briefly before they bolted again. They breed in more open cultivated fields, scrubland and thinly wooded and rocky hillside habitat. We found these birds extremely flighty, which would be understandable as they are widely hunted, but are still widespread and locally common, partly due to the fact that numbers are bolstered by periodic releases.
So this morning we were down in the little park area there where people sit and eat food, and had the Atlantic canaries and African blue tits there, and then we walked up onto this side, and either side of that road there we had the Barbary partridge, and then eventually flew across, so we walked up and over and down that road there and got them there for the last time, and then we walked around and back into the little village square kind of thing. We're going to take a drive down and up this ravine here, and then down and further down to the next village as well. We need to resupply with food and things because there's not much in this town.
From Betancuria, we drove south for a short distance and then east into the hills to a recreational area called the Pine Grove Barbecue Area, or El Pinar Barbacoa, to see if the change in altitude and habitat would bring us something new. We still hadn't seen Fuerteventura chat yet, so we were still on the lookout for those.
Okay, we're just going to do a mountain trek just south of Betancuria. We are chasing Fuerteventura stone chats, or chats. So we're just going to take us dirt road up into the hills and see what we can find. We're going to a pin marked on eBirds. We haven't seen one yet, so I'll try and see one now. Right, we just come to the top of that little mountain track. It looks like a little bit of a nature reserve here. I don't think we can go much further, although we did see a cargo further up, but we're not going to. So we're just going to try and bird around here and see what we can find. Wind's picked up quite a bit. Jake's on some birthlots pipits up there, just in that little clearing there. And we've heard African blue tit here as well.
The Barbary ground squirrel can be found just about anywhere on Fuerteventura in mountainous areas. It's endemic to Morocco and parts of Algeria, and was introduced to the Canaries on Fuerteventura back in 1965. It's one of only 2 species of squirrel to inhabit Africa north of the Sahara, the other being a small population of striped ground squirrel in southern Morocco. It reminds me a lot of our Cape ground squirrels back home in South Africa, but these are about 2/3 of the size. It's a colonial animal and lives in family groups in burrows in dry grass, bushy and rocky areas, or in dens among rocks. It feeds on plant material, and where fed by tourists, populations can explode, as you'll see later in the video.
Jake's on some berthlots again. Raven up there. It's on the crest of the hill. Can hear blue titcher somewhere. See if I can find it down here. Is that it? Yeah, just flying towards us, and in this tree here now. See if I can get a few steps.
The African blue tit in the Canaries are made up of 5 subtly different subspecies. It's a resident breeding bird throughout the islands, common and widespread but less so on the drier eastern islands, as it favours greener areas of trees, shrubs, forests, parks and gardens. It's very similar looking to the European blue tit, but it has darker blue and black markings and a richer yellow below. Birds on Fuerteventura are paler and greyer above and show a distinct pale wing bar. Birds on Tenerife are the darkest and lack the wing bar completely. Hanging around these picnic tables, they were obviously used to people leaving crumbs behind, and at one point I had a bird sat on the table while I was sitting at the bench, giving point-blank views.
So we just had the most insane views of African blue tit in amongst these picnic tables here. Calling in the treetops. Got about 1 million photographs, point blank, which is lovely. Jake's just up the road there, Raven up above here. You can hear African blue tits all around, and Spanish sparrows as well. I'm just going to take a walk down here, see what I can find. It's always good to spread out. One goes up and the other one goes down. Wind's blowing a bit, so everything's hunkered down a little bit more than normal. Oh, there's the bertholots again. I might just try and get a better pic of those. So just on the entrance track, 2 pairs of bertholot's puppets in the scrubby bit. I can hear a buzzard calling somewhere overhead, off there somewhere. And the raven over. Tons of those around here. Atlantic canary calling in the top of that dead tree there. Just up here. Yeah.
After deciding there wasn't much more for us to find at El Pinar Barbacoa, we made the short drive south further down the valley to the next mountain town of Vega de Rio Palmas to see what we could find here. Population 200, this little town is nestled in a relatively lush and green part of the valley just 4 kilometers south of Betancuria and just above the Embalse de las Penitas reservoir. And literally, as we took the turn off to the town, we had point-blank views of a lovely great grey shrike hunting a roadside field at eye level right from the car. I mean, it just can't get any better than this, can it? Or maybe it can, because we had the same incredible views of a hoopoe again at eye level right from the comfort of our car as we parked up. Hoopoe is a common resident on the Canaries, more so on the drier eastern side than the western, where they are scarcer. Numbers are bolstered in spring by migrating birds, and love short grassy areas like golf courses, cultivated farmlands, parks and hotel gardens. They can be found across Africa, Asia and Europe, notable by their distinctive crown feathers, which they can raise and lower at will. 3 species are currently recognized: African, Eurasian and Madagascan hoopoe. However, I think there's been talk of lumping these together. The Eurasian and South Asian birds are migratory, while the African birds are sedentary all year round. And then finally, our first pair of Fuerteventura chats. As the name suggests, they are endemic to Fuerteventura only, although birds periodically turn up on Lanzarote. Widespread on the island, they can be found on scrubby hillsides, barrancos, and on the edges of cultivated land. It's an interesting looking bird and looks like a smash-up between a winged chat and a common stone chat.
Right, so we've just had Fuerteventura chat and hoopoe in here, point blank views, which is lovely. So we've decided just to park up and have another look around. What you got?
At the top of the bonnet there is Fuerteventura cat female. White bonnet.
Ah, okay. And there's also a trumpeter finch here as well, which you're going to try and find. We had brief views back that way, but they flew unfortunately, so we're just going to have another look around.
Trumpeter finch, another lifer for me, is a widespread and common desert bird on the eastern islands and gets progressively scarcer the more westwards you go, and aren't found on El Hierro or La Palma at all. Trumpeters can be resident, dispersive or nomadic and can form mixed flocks with linnets and Spanish sparrows.
Just had trumpeter finch all in here. Coloured doves, laughing doves, Spanish sparrows, Fuerteventura stone chat or chat, and lovely sighting of a hoopoe on this corner here.
We noticed a hiking trail leaving the town and heading downstream towards a reservoir a short distance away. It looked very green and wondered if it would attract birds to the path, so decided to take a short walk down to see what we could find. and although the path down was wetter and much more vegetated than the surrounding area, sadly we didn't find too much other than a few Spanish sparrows, Sardinian warblers and one or two spectacle warblers. Sardinian warblers are an endemic subspecies resident on the Canary Islands, more common on the Western Isles than on the drier eastern side, where they are localized to areas of suitable habitat. Seemingly never sitting still, these birds are common across the Mediterranean region. The male and female have polymorphic plumages, with the male wearing a grey back, black head, red eyes and white throat, and the females being brown above and with buffy underparts.
Spanish sparrow.
Sadly, as we continued down the path for a bit, we realized besides the lovely scenery we were walking through, we were wasting our time birding-wise, because clearly there wasn't much down here. So when we finally found a pair of spectacled warblers, we decided to use them as our turning point and started heading back to the car to move on to the next spot.
There's the birth lots down here.
Leaving the small village of Vega de Rio Palmas, we decided to push on out south of the mountains to the next major town to stock up on supplies, stopping at the most amazing viewpoints along the way. But the best viewpoint was the Rosco de las Piñas viewpoint as you reach the top of the pass before you start heading down in altitude to exit the mountains. This spot gave the most amazing 360-degree views across the whole of Fuerteventura.
Wind is pumping here a bit, but point blank views of Raven, which I'll show you now. Sorry, the wind's pumping. And also point blank views of Berthelot Puppet. It's literally in front of Jake there. Sorry, the wind is absolutely pumping up here. Lovely views over Fuerteventura mountain ranges. Berthelots, another Berthelots just here on the wall. And of course lots of Barbary squirrels. Come the ravens. Look at that, unreal.
The ravens up here were obviously used to the large amount of people stopping here to take in the views and picking up scraps left by tourists feeding the rather large population of Barbary squirrels here, even though there are signs asking them not to, but resulting in you having the most amazingly close views of this buzzard-sized bird. Common raven on the Canaries have formed into their own subspecies on the islands, being most numerous on El Hierro and Fuerteventura.
A little less windy on this side. Just Barbary squirrels all over the place. Hi mate. I think you might be a bit too close for my camera. Holy smokes, there's Barbary squirrels all over the place here. Okay, let me get in on this Berthelot's pipit action of Jake's.
This near-endemic pipit is by far the most numerous bird you'll see on Fuerteventura, occurring on all the Canary Islands and Madeira, favouring uncultivated habitat at elevations, but preferring the drier eastern side of the Canaries.
Jake's got a new friend. They're tiny.
Using me as your new lookout post.
After resupplying with food and drinks, we returned back along the mountain pass because we wanted to spend the rest of the afternoon birding around the Penitas Dam, by far the most vegetated area for miles around. Built in the 1930s and ultimately abandoned, the dam still periodically fills with water, creating a small lake turning the surrounding area lovely and green, making it a highlight for hikers who come down to sit on the dam wall and enjoy the breathtaking views down the barranco.
Right, we've driven through the village and literally taken this road right till the end and found this awesome little hotspot of farmlands, terraced, sort of raised areas. We've already had hoopoe and great grey shrike, and now we are hearing European turtle dove calling down the bottom here. But we're finding wherever there's a little bit of greenery, sort of cultivated areas, that's where all the birds are. In between, like on the roads, it's very arid and we are not seeing much bird life along the roads, unfortunately. But there's lots going on here. The hoopoe was up there and the turtle dove is down here somewhere. So we're just going to have a little look around. Fuerteventura has the most amazing palm trees as well. Right, so we're just going to spend a little bit of time checking this area out. So the river runs down, and then what would normally be a wetland in there, they've got a dam wall there. But we were up there earlier and had a look down. It's completely dry, but obviously still green, so it's going to be a little bit different habitat, and so all the birds will be in there. Sorry? Jake says the shrike's just caught a massive lizard. You still got eyes on?
Yeah, just drop here.
Oh, there. European turtle doves calling down here somewhere. Sardinian warbler down here somewhere. We've also found that during the day, obviously it gets hot, and so there's less activity, and in the early evening and early morning is when the most activity bird-wise is happening. A lot more calling, a lot more sighting, obviously. The scenery is amazing around here, very arid. And so when you get green areas like this, it attracts all the birds.
Just about every stop you make on Fuerteventura, you'll find Berthelot's pipits nearby. They seem to be everywhere. As I mentioned before, they can be found on the Canaries and out on Madeira, and are common on both archipelagos. They can be incredibly tolerant of you, especially in densely populated areas on the islands. They can be found in open country and nest on the ground, with 3 to 5 eggs being laid. It's a small nondescript pipit, mainly grey above and whitish below, with some streaking on the breast. It's got a whitish supercilium and eye ring. The sexes are similar, but the juveniles are browner than the adults. This species is named after the French naturalist Sabin Berthelot, a one-time resident of the Canary Islands.
Still on the hunt for this European turtle dove. Unfortunately, it's buried in here somewhere. But it is still calling every now and again. But I don't think we've got any paths to go look for it. Because it all looks like that. Hey, how are you doing? Yeah, it's pretty thick in here. Bit of a mecca for doves though. That's Jake coming along. So where we are staying in the Airbnb is way up behind there, and it comes down through this lower village and then into this sort of like leveled out bit, and they've dammed it, and this becomes like a wetland in the rainy season, but now bone dry of course. But look how green it is compared to everywhere else. So nice little trap for birds. Good spot to visit, as is the little town over there, rammed full of birds. Spectacular scenery. I would have thought I would have had more peregrines, but sadly not, and also more kestrels, but they're few and far between. Only the one kestrel this morning. And what is that? Laughing dove on that stone across there. Oops, sorry, around about there. So now I'm walking in what would be water in the rainy season when there's good rains. There's the dam wall, but now not a drop anyway. But it does give us the opportunity to bird these what would be riverside shrubs. Sardinian flying across. Another Sardinian in that tree there. Let's Go check over the wall here. I'm up on the dam wall. A little bit of water down there. Ravines up above. Raven through. Just going through there. Down. Found the European turtle dove. It's on top of this dead palm here. It's crawling away. Just that palm head that's sticking out there. Okay, it's still sitting there. I'm a little closer, try and get another shot. That took a while, but he got it in the end. Nice trip tick as well. Blue tit down on the fence there by the car. We just had spectacle warbler again, showing nicely. So we're finding that this sort of time of the evening is when all the activity starts up for a little bit. Great grey shrike calling on that side.
Spectacle warblers are a shy resident bird, common in the drier habitats of the western and central Canaries, favouring Lanzarote and Fuerteventura. Generally, where you find Sardinians, you'll find a pair of spectacle warblers nearby too.
That's the road we were on, designated by those white ballards, so you don't drive off the road. And then carries on there and goes over the hill. So in 2 days of birding on the Canaries, out of my possible 18 lifers here, I've seen plain swift, Egyptian vulture, African blue tit, spectacle warbler, Fuerteventura chat, Berthelot's pipit, trumpeter finch, Atlantic canary. We've seen a lot of chiff-chaffs, but not the canary version yet. They're just commons. And then of the subs, I've seen quite a few. The buzzard, the peregrine, the kestrel, and the great grey shrike are all subs, and are not full lifers, of course. So I'm just about halfway through all my lifer list for the canary. So ways to go yet. We'll obviously get a few more up north when we go for the bustards, the sandgrouse, and the courser, cream-coloured courser. It's nice easy birding though, we're not pushing it, we're just taking each day as it comes. Wake up, do some birding, chill out, have some lunch. It's quite relaxing birding for a change.
As is always the case, as we were about to leave this area, we spotted our third Fuerteventura chat on the opposite side of the terraced area, so made our way across for closer views, and while doing so, a European turtle dove flew in, perched up, and started calling. And because this was going to be our last bit of birding for the day, we decided to spend it with this bird, trying to creep closer and get better views than we had before. Unlike other Canary Islands pigeons and doves, these birds are migrants wintering in the Sahel region of sub-Saharan Africa, returning each March to breed, so we were catching some of the first birds back. Sadly, this is a fast declining bird across its range as it's widely hunted. It would be a disgusting failure on our part if we were no longer able to hear its lovely deep purring call.
Right, that's the end of day 2, literally dawn to dusk. We finished off with a nice European turtle dove and heard Barbary partridges calling in the background, but we are done chasing them because they're super flighty. The minute they clock you, they're gone, no matter how far away you are, or even if you're in the car like we heard earlier. So we've just finished the day at this little farm area. Nice little hotspot for birds. But now it's back to the Airbnb, have a beer, bite to eat, and crash.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we head north to fulfill a childhood dream of mine of seeing displaying her barra bustards.